dangerous destination. In future, astronauts will be referred to a destination spaceship while it is still in space and to return to it. The ability to do this will be necessary in future flights to distant planets. Scientists are now trying to discover if this is possible. The spaceship Astra, which left the Earth a short time ago, will be traveling 300 miles into space. At a certain point, the Astra will stop for a short time and an astronaut will attempt to leave the stationary spaceship and then return to it. We shall not know whether the experiment has been successful until we have received a radio message. The first message is expected to arrive at 7 o'clock this evening. By the time the Astra will have been flying through space for 17 hours and will have circled the Earth a great many times. When the first radio message have been received, the results of the trip will be announced immediately. Lesson 62. After the fire. Firemen had been fighting the forest fire for nearly 3 weeks before they could get it under control. A short time before, great trees had covered the countryside for miles around. Now, smoke still rose up from the warm ground over the desolate hills. Winter was coming the lead hills. On an, on the lead hills. Winter was coming and the hills threatened the surrounding village with destruction. For heavy rain would not only wash away the soil but would cause serious floods as well. When the fire had at last been put out, the forest authorities ordered several tons of a special type of grass seed, which would grow quickly. The seed was sprayed over the ground in huge quantities by aeroplanes. The planes had been planting seed of nearly a month when it began to rain. By then, however, in many places the grass had already taken root. In place of the great trees which had been growing there for centuries, patches of green had begun to appear in the black, blackened soil. Lesson 63. She wasn't amused. Geoffrey then has a large circle of friends and is very popular at parties. Everybody admires him for his fine sense of humor. Everybody, that is, except his 6-year-old daughter. Jenny recently, one of Geoffrey's closest friends, asked him to make a speech at the wedding reception. This is the sort of thing that Geoffrey loves. He prepared the speech carefully and went to the wedding with Jenny. He had included a large number of funny stories in the speech. Of course, it was a great success. As soon as he had finished, Jenny told him she wanted to go home. Geoffrey was a little disappointed by this, but he did as his daughter asked. On the way home, he asked Jenny if she had enjoyed the speech. To his surprise, she said she hadn't. Geoffrey asked her why this was so, and she told him that she didn't like to see so many people laughing at him. Lesson 64. The Channel Tunnel. In In 1858, a French engineer, Aim Tom de Gammon, arrived in England with a plan for a 21-mile tunnel across the English Channel. He said that it would be possible to build a platform in the center of the channel. This platform would serve as a port in a railway station. The tunnel would be well ventilated if dark chimneys were built above sea level. In 18 in 1860, a weather plane was put forward by an Englishman, William Lowe. He suggested that a double railway tunnel should station tunnel. It would draw in fresh air behind it. 42 years later, a tunnel was actually begun. If at the time the British hadn't fair invasion, it would have been complete. Recently, there has again been great interest in the idea of channel tunnel. If it is built, it will connect Britain to Europa for the first time in history. Lesson 65: Jumbo versus the police. Last Christmas, the circus owner, Jimmy Gates, decided to take some presents to a children's hospital. Dressed up as Father Christmas and accompanied by a guard of honor of six pretty girls, he set off down the main street of the city riding a baby elephant called Jumbo. He should have known that the police would never allow this sort of thing. A policeman approached Jimmy and told him he ought to have gone along a side street as Jumbo was holding up the traffic. So Jimmy agreed to go at once. Jumbo refused very hard to get him off the main street. Police had a difficult time, but they were most amused. Jumbo must weigh a few tons, said a policeman afterwards. So it was fortunate that we didn't have to carry him. Of course, we should arrest him, but as he has a good record, we shall let him off this time. Lesson 66: Cycling Through the Air. The Hatfield Puffin is a modern aeroplane, but its designer, Mr. John Wimpey, is finding it difficult to get it off the ground. The reason for this that this plane is also a bicycle. Its pilot has to pedal hard to get it into the air. After Mr. Wimpey had the plane built, it was tested thoroughly. In 1961, it was the first man-powered aircraft to fly half-mile, while being flown by a champion amateur cyclist in 1963. The plane crashed on an airfield. Since then, Mr. Wampany has had it rebuilt. He has had the length of the wings increased so that the length of the wings eh, so that 3 feet almost as long as those of a Dakota. Many people have shown interest in this new and unusual sport, but top air cyclists may learn how to fly over short distance and may eventually even get across the English Channel. It is doubtful whether they will ever cycle across the Atlantic. Lesson 67: Volcanoes. Ron Tassi, the Polish scientist, has spent his lifetime studying active volcanoes and deep in all parts of the world. In 1948, he went to Lake Kivu in the Congo to observe a new volcano which he later named Kitoro. Tashif was able to set up his camp very close to the volcano while it was erupting violently. violently. So he managed to take a number of brilliant brilliant photographs. He couldn't stay near the volcano for very long. He noticed that the river of liquid rock was coming towards him. It threatened to surround him completely, but Tassin waited until the volcano and he was able to return 2 days later. This time, he managed to climb into the mouth of Kitoro so that he could take photographs and measure temperatures. Tasif has often faced his life in this way. He has been able to tell us more about active volcanoes than any man alive. Lesson 68. Persistent. I crossed the street to avoid meeting him, but he saw me and came running towards me. It was no use pretending that I hadn't seen him, so I went to him. I never enjoy meeting Berdikas. He never has anything to do, no matter how busy you are. He always insists on coming with you. I had to think of a way of preventing him from following my around a morning. Hello, Bert, I said. Fancy meeting you here. Hello, Elizabeth. Bert answered. I was just wondering how to spend the morning until I saw you. You're not busy doing anything, are you? No, not at all. I answered, I'm going to you mind coming with speaking. Not at all. I lied, but I'm going to the dentist. Then I'll come with you, he answered. There's always plenty to read in the waiting room. Waiting room. Lesson 69, but not murder. I was being tested for a driving license for the third time. I had been asked to drive in heavy traffic and had done so successfully. After having been instructed to drive out of town, I began to acquire confidence. Sure that I had passed, I was almost beginning to enjoy my test. The examiner must have been pleased with my performance, for he smiled and said, just one more thing, Mr. Ames. Let us suppose that the child suddenly crosses the road in front of you. As soon as I tap on the window, I, I want the car to be stopped immediately. I the, the car to be. I continue driving, and after some time, the examiner taped loudly. The, the sound could be heard clearly. It took me a long time to react. I suddenly pressed the brake pedal hard, and we were both thrown forward. The examiner looked at me sadly. Mr. MS, he said, in a mournful voice, you have just killed that child. Lesson 17. 17. Red for danger. During a bullfight. Red for danger. During a bullfight, a drunk suddenly wandered into the middle of the ring. The crowd began to shoot, but the drunk was unaware of the danger. The ball was busy with the matador at the time, but it suddenly caught sight of the drunk who was shooting rude remarks and waving a red cup, apparently sensitive to criticism. Criticism. The ball forgot all about the matador and cheered at the drunk. The crowd suddenly grew quiet. The drunk, however, seemed quite sure of himself. When the ball got close to him, he clumsily stepped aside to let it pass. The crowd broke into cheers and the drunk bowed. By this time, however, three men had come into the ring and they quickly dragged the drunk to safety. Even the ball seemed to feel sorry for him, for it looked down sympathetically until the drum was out of the way before once more turning its attention to the matador. 71. Lesson 71. A famous clock. When you visit London, one of the first things you will see is Big Ben, the famous clock which can be heard all over the world on the BBC. Of the Houses of Parliament hadn't been burned down in 1834. The great clock would never have been erected. Big Ben takes its from Sir Benjamin Hall, who was responsible for the making of the clock when the new House of Parliament were being built. It isn't only of immense size, but is extremely accurate as well. Officials from Greenwich Observatory have the clock checked twice a day. On the BBC, you can hear the clock when it is actually striking because microphones are connected to the clock tower. Big Ben has rarely gone wrong once. However, it failed to give the correct time. The painter who had been working on the tower hung a pot of paint on one of the hands and slowed it down. Lesson 72. A great racing driver, Sir Malcolm Campbell, was the first man to drive at over 300 miles per hour. He set up new world record in September 1935 at Bonneville Salt Flats. Utah Bluebird, the car he was driving,
Stop dulu.
had been specially built for him. It was over 30 feet in length and had 20,000 horsepower engine. Although Campbell reached a speed of over 304 miles per hour, he had great difficulty in controlling the car because a tire burst during the first run. During the first run, after his attempt, Campbell was disappointed to learn that his average speed had been 299 miles per hour. However, a few days later, he was told that a mistake had been made. His average speed had been 301 miles per hour. Since that time, racing drivers have reached speeds of over 400 miles an hour. Following his father's footsteps many years later, Sir Malcolm's son, Donald, also set up a world record. Like his father, he was driving a car called Bluebird. Lesson 73. The record holder. Little boys who play truant from school are unimaginative. A quiet day's fishing or 8 hours in a cinema seeing the same film over again is usually as far as they get. They have all been put to shame by a boy who, while playing truant, traveled 16 miles. He hit to Dover and evening went into a boat to find somewhere to sleep. When he woke up next morning, he discovered that the boat had, in the meantime, traveled to Paris in a gave him a few biscuits and a cup of coffee and left him just outside the city. The next car the boy stopped didn't take him into the center of Paris as he hoped it would, but to Perpignan on the French-Spanish border. There he was picked up by a policeman and sent back to England by the local authorities. He has surely set up a record for the thousands of boys who dream of evading school. That's on 74 out of the limelight. And an ancient bus stopped by a dry river bed and a party of famous actors and actresses got off, dressed in dark glasses and old clothes. They had taken special precautions so that no one should recognize them. But as they soon discovered, his voice can sometimes be too perfect. This is a wonderful place for a picnic, said Gloria Gleam. It couldn't be better. Brinsley Mears agreed. No newspaper men, no film fans. Why don't we come more often? Meanwhile, two other actors, Rob Waslinger and Marilyn Graves, had carried two large food baskets to a shady spot under some trees. When they had all made themselves comfortable, a stranger appeared. He looked very angry. No, you get out of here, all of you. He shouted. I'm sheriff here. Do you see that notice? It says no camping, in case you can read it. Look, Sheriff, said Rockwell, don't be too hard on us. I'm Rockwell Slinger, and this is Marilyn Graves. Oh, is it? Said the sheriff with a sneer. Well, I'm Brinkley Mears, and my other name is Gloria Gleam. No, you get out of here fast. Lesson 75. Sauce.
SOS.
SOS. When a light passenger plane flew off course some time ago, it crashed in the mountains and its pilot was killed. The only passengers, a young woman and her two baby daughters, were unhurt. It was the middle of winter. Snow lay thick on the ground. The woman knew the nearest village was miles away. Where, when it grew dark, she turned a suitcase into a bed and put the children inside it, covering them with all the clothes she could find. During the night, it was terrible cold. The woman kept as near as she could the children and even tried to get into the case herself, but it was too small. Early next morning, she heard planes passing overhead and wondered how she could send a signal. Then she had an idea. She stamped out the letters SOS in the snow. Fortunately, a pilot saw the signal and sent a message by radio to the nearest town. It wasn't long before a helicopter arrived on the scene to rescue the survivors of the plane. Sada kau dah ulah